This is a world where somebody can have over $100 billion. What is that? These fortunes are almost illegitimate unless in a very smart way given back.
One of the biggest names in business, tech, and philanthropy.
Exploring and investing in innovative solutions to some of the world's toughest problems.
Bill Gates.
What if I told you that one of the richest men on earth does not live the way you imagine a billionaire should? No endless flashing of gold. No constant parade of luxury cars on social media. No desperate need to prove wealth to the world.
Never understood the first thing about this.
Microsoft hit a new record high on Wall Street.
Rivals paint a dark picture.
He'll do whatever he can to capture more of the market.
Our mother wanted him to focus on community and family.
I gave my mom a hard time not following what she wanted.
You don't raise a family hyper-focused in your head.
Each one of us has to start out with developing his or her own definition of success.
And yet, behind this surprisingly simple public image lies a level of power, influence, and access that most people cannot even begin to understand. This is the story of Bill Gates.
Hello, I'm Bill Gates, chairman of Microsoft.
And what about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
A man who built one of the most powerful technology companies in history became a symbol of extreme wealth, and then did something unexpected. He stepped away from the spotlight of aggressive business expansion and quietly reshaped what it means to live as a billionaire. But here is the real question that makes this story fascinating. Is his lifestyle truly simple, or is that just the surface hiding a completely different reality? To understand this, we need to go back to the beginning. Bill Gates was not born into poverty, but he was not born into extreme wealth either. He grew up in Seattle in a family that valued education, discipline, and ambition. From a young age, he showed a deep interest in computers at a time when most people did not even know what a computer could become. That curiosity turned into obsession. While other teenagers were focused on typical activities, Gates was spending hours writing code, exploring systems, and thinking about the future of computing. This was not just a hobby, it was the foundation of everything that would come next. Then came the turning point. He co-founded Microsoft, and that decision changed not only his life but the entire world. Personal computers were just beginning to emerge, and Gates saw an opportunity that others did not fully understand yet. Software would become the backbone of this new digital age, and he was right. Microsoft grew rapidly, dominating the software industry. Operating systems, productivity tools, and business solutions became essential in offices and homes across the globe. As the company expanded, so did Gates' wealth. And this is where the billionaire story begins. By the 1990s, Bill Gates was not just wealthy, he was the richest person in the world. For years, his name sat at the top of global wealth rankings. His net worth reached levels that seemed almost unreal. Now pause for a moment and think about this. When someone reaches that level of wealth, what usually happens? Luxury, excess, public display of status, but Gates took a different path. Yes, he owns a massive estate known as Xanadu 2.0, located in Washington. It is a technological marvel filled with advanced systems, custom design, and breathtaking views. It is not small by any definition. It is a symbol of wealth, but here is where things get interesting. Despite owning such a property, Gates does not live a life that constantly tries to impress others. You do not see him flooding social media with displays of wealth. You do not see him chasing attention through extravagant purchases. Instead, his lifestyle appears surprisingly grounded: simple clothing, practical decisions, a focus on work, reading, and long-term impact. So what is going on here? Is this true simplicity, or is it a different kind of strategy? Let us go deeper. One of the biggest differences between Gates and many other billionaires is how he spends his money. Instead of focusing only on personal luxury, he shifted a significant portion of his wealth into philanthropy. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation became one of the largest charitable organizations in the world. Billions of dollars have been directed toward global health, education, and poverty reduction. Now here is something that will make you think. When a billionaire gives away massive amounts of money, does that make their lifestyle simple, or does it create a different kind of power? Because influence in philanthropy can be just as powerful as influence in business. Gates has played a role in shaping global health initiatives, funding vaccine development, and supporting education programs in multiple countries. His decisions impact millions of lives. That is not a simple life. That is a life of enormous influence. But let us not ignore the personal side. Gates is known for habits that reflect discipline rather than extravagance. He reads extensively. Reports suggest he reads dozens of books every year. He spends time thinking deeply about complex problems, from climate change to global health. This is not the image of a billionaire constantly chasing luxury. This is the image of someone focused on ideas. And here is where the contrast becomes even more fascinating. On one hand, you have simplicity. On the other hand, you have access to resources that are almost limitless. Private jets, for example. Gates owns private aircraft, which he has even jokingly referred to as a guilty pleasure. This is not something most people would consider simple. It is a level of convenience and luxury that only a tiny fraction of the world can afford. So how do we reconcile these two sides? Simple public image versus undeniable billionaire privileges. The answer lies in understanding what simplicity really means at that level. For Gates, simplicity does not mean living like an average person. It means not being driven by the need to constantly display wealth. It means focusing on function rather than appearance. But let me ask you something. If you had billions of dollars, would you live simply, or would you feel the need to show it? This question is at the heart of Gates' lifestyle, because his choices challenge the traditional idea of what a billionaire should look like. Now let us explore another layer: time. For most people, time is limited by work, responsibilities, and financial constraints. For a billionaire like Gates, time becomes one of the most valuable assets. He has the freedom to choose what to focus on, and he chose to focus on global challenges. Climate change, for example, has become a major area of interest for him. He has invested in clean energy technologies and supported initiatives aimed at reducing carbon emissions. Again, this is not a simple life in the traditional sense. It is a life of strategic influence. But there is also a human side to this story. Gates has faced criticism over the years, from business practices during the rise of Microsoft to debates about the role of billionaires in global issues. Not everyone agrees with his approach. Some people question whether billionaires should have that level of influence over global decisions. Others argue that his contributions have made a significant positive impact, and this tension adds another dimension to his lifestyle, because being a billionaire is not just about wealth. It is about responsibility, perception, and scrutiny. Now let us talk about daily life. Unlike many celebrities or ultra-wealthy individuals, Gates does not appear to chase constant attention. He gives interviews, writes about issues he cares about, and shares insights, but his presence is not built around spectacle. There is a calmness to his public image, a focus on substance rather than show. But do not confuse that with a lack of luxury. His properties, travel, and access to resources still place him in a world that is far removed from everyday life, and that is where the truth begins to reveal itself. The idea of a simple billionaire lifestyle is not about removing luxury completely. It is about how that luxury is used and presented. Gates does not need to prove his wealth. It is already known. So he shifts the focus to something else: impact. And this brings us to one of the most powerful insights in this story. At a certain level of wealth, money itself is no longer the main goal. Influence becomes the currency. The ability to shape industries, support innovations, and address global challenges becomes more important than buying another luxury item. And Gates embodies this shift. Now here is something to think about. What if the real difference between a typical wealthy lifestyle and a billionaire lifestyle is not the amount of money, but the mindset behind it? Because that mindset determines how resources are used. Gates could spend endlessly on personal luxury. Instead, he allocates significant resources toward long-term projects that may not even benefit him directly. That is a different kind of thinking. But let us not make this story one-dimensional. There are contradictions, moments where the simplicity narrative meets the reality of extreme wealth. For example, his estate is equipped with advanced technology that most people will never experience. His travel options provide a level of convenience that removes many of the challenges ordinary people face. These are not simple conditions. They are privileges. So the truth lies somewhere in between. Gates lives a life that appears simple on the surface, but is supported by a foundation of immense wealth and access. And this combination creates something unique, a lifestyle that does not need to prove itself, yet quietly operates at a level of power that is difficult to comprehend. Now let me bring you into a moment that might change how you see this entire story. Imagine having the ability to influence global health policies, fund scientific research, and support solutions to some of the world's biggest problems. At the same time, imagine living in a way that does not constantly seek attention or validation. That balance is rare, and it is what makes Gates' lifestyle so intriguing. It challenges assumptions. It forces us to rethink what wealth really looks like. Because sometimes, the most powerful lifestyles are not the loudest ones. They are the ones that operate quietly, shaping the world in ways that are not always visible. And here is where the story becomes even more interesting. As technology continues to evolve, the influence of individuals like Gates may grow even further. Investments in artificial intelligence, clean energy, and global development could shape the future in significant ways. This means his lifestyle is not just about the present, it is connected to the future. And that adds another layer to the truth. Being a billionaire is not just about living well. It is about positioning yourself in a way that allows you to influence what comes next. Now let us step back and look at the bigger picture. Bill Gates represents a different model of wealth, not one based on constant display, but one based on strategic action. Not one focused only on personal gain, but one that includes broader impact. But that does not make it simple in the way most people understand simplicity. It makes it controlled, intentional, focused, and that distinction matters because it shows that lifestyle is not just about what you have. It is about how you choose to use it. And here is the part that often surprises people. Despite the incredible wealth, the influence, and the power that Bill Gates wields, he often talks about life in terms that are surprisingly relatable. He emphasizes learning, curiosity, and the importance of continuous growth. For someone who could buy almost anything without thinking, he chooses instead to invest in ideas, research, and initiatives that could leave a lasting impact for generations. That is a level of perspective that most people, even wealthy individuals, rarely adopt. It is also worth noting the discipline required to maintain this kind of life. Gates is known for meticulously managing his time. He plans his days around reading, thinking, and problem solving. He surrounds himself with experts, yet constantly questions assumptions, pushing ideas further. This intentionality creates a kind of wealth that is not just measured in dollars, but in influence, knowledge, and global reach. The truth about Bill Gates' lifestyle is that it is not simple because he lacks resources. It is simple because he chooses to live in a way that focuses on purpose rather than display. And in that choice, he demonstrates that real billionaire power comes not from showing off wealth, but from quietly shaping the world while maintaining the freedom to act, think, and innovate at a scale few can ever imagine. So the next time you think about billionaire lifestyles, remember this: luxury can be loud, or it can be quiet. Power can be visible, or it can operate behind the scenes. And in the case of Bill Gates, the truth lies in the balance between simplicity and influence. A balance that continues to evolve as the world changes. And maybe, just maybe, that is the real secret behind his life. Not just having wealth, but knowing exactly how to live with it.